Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really powerful agency that acts as Pakistan's economic gatekeeper. It's called the National Tariff Commission, or NTC. Now, this one organization has a huge influence on the price of goods you buy, the success of local factories, and honestly, how competitive the entire country is on the world stage. So let's dive in and find out how.
First off, let's start with a basic question. Just imagine you run a factory in Pakistan. What's stopping a foreign competitor from just flooding the market with products that are priced so ridiculously low that you're driven out of business? And not because you're inefficient, but because the whole game is rigged against you.
Well, the answer to that question is the National Tariff Commission. The NTC is a government agency with a very specific, very crucial job to basically act as a shield for local industries against these unfair international trade practices. When you boil it all down, the NTC's mission is all about fairness. It's not about blocking all imports, not at all. It's about making sure that Pakistani companies can compete on a level playing field, where the real competition is about quality and efficiency, not about who has some unfair advantage. So how does it actually do this? The best way to get your head around the NTC is to think of it as having two different hats it wears. It's both a referee out on the field of trade, and it's also a master architect drawing up the economic blueprints for the country's future.
Let's break that down. As the trade referee, the NTC is the one blowing the whistle on foul play. It investigates complaints and takes action when things aren't fair. But as the policy architect, it's thinking long-term, advising the government on how to design tariff policies that make the entire economy stronger and more competitive.
Okay, so what kind of fouls is this referee looking for? Well, the big one is called dumping. That's when a foreign company sells its stuff in Pakistan for way less than it charges back home. Then you've got subsidies, which is when a foreign government gives its own companies an unfair financial boost. And finally, there are import surges, these sudden massive waves of imports that can pretty much drown a local industry overnight.
Now, let's flip over to the architect's side of the job. Here, the goals are much more strategic. The NTC works to fix weird situations called tariff anomalies. Like, imagine if the raw wood to make a chair is taxed more heavily than an imported, fully finished chair. That makes no sense, right? It also advises on lowering taxes on industrial parts to make manufacturing cheaper, and it can recommend temporary protection for brand new or infant industries to give them a real shot at getting on their feet.
All right, so the NTC has these two huge roles, but how does it actually enforce its decisions? I mean, how does it go from just an investigation to having a real impact in the real world?
This is what's absolutely crucial to understand. The NTC isn't just some committee writing up reports that sit on a shelf. It's a quasi-judicial authority, and that's a fancy term that means it has powers a lot like a civil court. It can demand evidence, it can hold hearings, and its rulings actually have the force of law.
So let's look at the playbook for a typical anti-dumping case. It all starts when a local company files a formal complaint, backed up with some evidence. If the NTC thinks there's something to it, it launches a full-blown investigation. It gathers info from everyone, local producers, importers, even the foreign exporters. Then, after weighing all the evidence, it issues a final ruling. And if it proves that dumping hurt the local industry, the NTC can impose anti-dumping duties, which are basically targeted taxes meant to make the market fair again.
And hey, this isn't just theory. The NTC investigates all sorts of products. We're talking about industrial chemicals like PVC resin and soda ash, and even pharmaceutical ingredients like cefadroxil. I mean, these are the fundamental building blocks for so many other industries in Pakistan.
The NTC we see today wasn't always this powerful. Its role has changed a lot over the decades. It's shifted from being a simple advisor to a powerful regulator, and now, more recently, a promoter of national competitiveness.
The NTC's journey really shows this clear evolution. It started back in the 80s, mostly just giving advice. Then, in the 2000s, when Pakistan joined the World Trade Organization, its job grew to include formal anti-dumping investigations. But the real game changer was 2015, when a new act gave it the legal teeth we just talked about. And now, looking ahead, the focus is shifting again, moving beyond just protecting industries to actively promoting export-led growth.
And this quote right here, it just sums up that pivotal moment perfectly. The 2015 Act transformed the NTC from a watchdog that could only bark loudly into one with a very, very real bite. It was the moment the referee was officially given the power to hand out red cards.
So the latest chapter in this story is the new national tariff policy. The goal now is to reduce what economists call an anti-export bias.
That's where the tariff system accidentally makes it more profitable to sell goods inside Pakistan than to export them. The NTC is now tasked with helping rebalance that whole equation to really boost Pakistan's presence in global markets.
We've covered the what, the how, and the history, but let's bring it all together. Why does the National Tariff Commission actually matter for the average person and the economy as a whole?
Well, the first reason is simple: money. The anti-dumping duties the NTC has imposed have generated billions in revenue for the government, and this is money that can be used for public services, all coming directly from leveling the playing field in trade.
Second, its work provides this vital shield for some of Pakistan's most important industries. We're talking about foundational sectors here, like steel, chemicals, textiles, and paper. These are industries that employ hundreds of thousands of people and really form the economic backbone of the country. So ultimately, when the NTC investigates a case or recommends a change in tariffs, it's not some abstract, bureaucratic exercise. It has a direct impact on protecting local jobs from unfair competition and creating an environment where Pakistani industries have a real fighting chance to innovate, to expand, and to succeed. And all this leaves us with a final and pretty thought-provoking question. The NTC is constantly walking this fine line. On one side, you have the need to protect local industries, but on the other, there's a risk of sliding into harmful protectionism that actually stifles competition. In our deeply interconnected global economy, the ultimate challenge is this: where exactly do we draw that line between ensuring fair play and just closing ourselves off?